Hi guys, so I did another Celtic cross again today, and first I just want to talk about the Herbal Astrology Oracle that I pulled, which is number 44 with Valerian and Acceptance. I also noticed that my other two oracles have a double 4 in between if you put them back together, so it's 2442, so maybe 444 or 44 means something to you, or maybe 2442, or maybe just the combination of 2s and 4s. Which to me feels like, stability and harmony in your connections and that type of thing. So anyway, so number 44 is Valerian with Acceptance. Now this is ruled by Neptune, and upright it says order, loosening, acceptance, embracing imperfection and persistence and flow. And I'm just going to read the guidance. I'm not going to go into the whole thing of it, because we got some more cards to read. So the guidance says, Valerian supports us by widening our trigger points and helping us zoom out of a situation that might be overloading you with anxiety or stress. Remember, go easy on yourself. Don't push yourself too hard to meet your goals. Valerian remedies the internal parts of ourselves that can embody mouse energy when we're overly analytical, judgmental, and in high trigger mode. The message here is to take measure. Although your foundation can be established with great order, there is a certain amount of flow needed in order to enjoy creativity and growth. Don't exhaust yourself in the details. Embrace your imperfections. I feel like I'm getting a message about this, so maybe this is for me. But I feel like, sometimes we work so hard because we want things to go right that, again, we lose that the enjoyment of it. And I feel like that's really what everything is about, right? It's about taking that time to enjoy what you're working on, what your masterpiece is. Otherwise, what's the point? And so let's get into the Celtic cross. So I used this is my pocket Radiant Rider-Waite deck. I like this one just because sometimes I just need like a Rider-Waite. I don't know what it is, and this is the one I use. But so we got the Wheel of Fortune as our current energy in the first spot. And this is kind of like saying like you're at like a major gate in your life. It's almost kind of like you're at a pivotal point of the wheel. But not at like in a beginner part. It's almost kind of like you're at this multiple dimension type of energy. I don't know how to explain what I'm thinking and feeling, but it's almost like, the combination of your past, your future, and your present. This is kind of where I feel like this is. And it's kind of like the culmination of what it's all about and the potential that you have in this situation. And so, if you feel like this, it could be, maybe things are coming up from the past, or you're worrying about the future, but you're trying to stay centered, right? So also with that Valerian card about, allowing and just letting things happen, maybe this is kind of like signaling to that maybe somebody's having some difficulty with that. But either way, I feel like energetically, this is a huge point where there's so much potential, and it's almost like something is being given to you, or you're being aware of something, and it's great, right? It's some big, great thing that, maybe you're being overwhelmed because you don't quite understand what it is. And so crossing us, we have the 9 of Wands, which 9 of Wands a lot of times is my, I always like to see the 9 of Wands and the 7 of Wands as being kind of like spiritually protected in a way, but sometimes it's like a within. But the 9 of Wands a lot of times to me feels like, you know where you are, you know where you stand, and you're kind of like in a mature but firm stance in how you are. So on this wheel, in this situation, you kind of are firm in where you believe. So it's almost kind of like you've gathered this knowledge, this spiritual energy, this this way of being, and that's kind of why this gate is opening for you. And I feel like, maybe this is saying that this path, or wherever you're at, it's a spiritual thing that you kind of are ready to kind of take things up to the next level. And so, as kind of like the foundation at the bottom, we have the Five of Swords. The Five of Swords, a lot of times, that can be conflict. A lot of times it's inner conflict. It can be like mental conflict. It can also be about taking a risk. So maybe I feel like this might be somebody who's kind of, you're wanting to take that step, but you're wrestling with it on the inside. You're not quite sure if you should, or maybe you have some past things that are coming up that kind of making you feel like, well, is it ethical for me to do this? Maybe you're afraid of leaving others behind too. And I feel like if something is meant for you, you know what they say, that like if something is meant for you, that it'll stay. Or I know that's not the exact words, but you know what I'm saying. I'm so bad with like sayings like that. I always say them wrong, whatever. But it could also be like, this is kind of like a pause in action. In a way, it's kind of like you've won this moment, but it's like, don't get comfortable. You know what I mean? This moment's kind of like a rest where you kind of have to gather yourself. But there's still that, edge to it. So I feel like in this aspect of the wheel where we're kind of like in this, this vortex, so to speak, where we're kind of like, in the middle of all these, crossroads, I feel like this is saying that, this is kind of a moment to kind of gather yourself, to kind of go within and kind of be like, okay, where do we go from here? What step do I take next? And what does this all mean? Right. Not to say that we should ponder that kind of thing for too long, but, so it's also about kind of like taking the winds as they come too. And not, overthinking it, because, we don't know the story completely about the situation. All we know is that, this person, he won in not necessarily the greatest of manner, because all his homies are over there not doing great. But at the same time, we don't know the situation. This just could be how the situation turned out. And should he really feel bad that he is, ahead, just doing his thing, and then his teammates, so to speak, are not, right? Does that make sense? So I feel like this is kind of the energy of understanding that, don't overthink it. Don't like let it internally stress you out. But at the same time, use this as kind of like an opportunity to kind of collect yourself and understand those small wins, what those mean, and maybe not focus on the big things so much right now. And so at our past, we have the Tower, which, this could be somebody who has really had their foundation kind of crumble a lot of times. And, we all know that like the Tower is representative of, it could be a good or a positive thing, but either way, it's always positive because it transforms us, right? We learn through tower crumbling, and towers crumble so they can be built back better. This also makes me feel like, too, that with the Tower, obviously you have to be somebody who has some inner fortitude, some strong spiritual understanding, and deep love to press on, right? With that 9 of Wands and the 5 of Swords is definitely somebody who you have a fighter instinct, and that takes a lot of spirit and a lot of strong intuition, and inner knowledge, and just like a natural perseverance. So in the card that is crowning us, we have the Page of Swords. Page of Swords, a lot of times we think of that as, a young person who has this youthful love of knowledge and communication and just intelligence. And I feel like with this card being that, and I feel like it's kind of like, where we're being led to also. So it's kind of like you're having that awe renewed again, like that excitedness about the next phase, about being this youthful energy in knowledge and communication, or maybe just even telling your truth, right? You have this deep need for that, and I feel like this is kind of like reinvigorating that again. And then in the 6th card, which is our near future, we have the Empress. And so the Empress, a lot of times, we think of her as, she gets what she wants. But the reason why she does that is because she kind of represents the epitome of not being bothered, but she's not bothered because she's kind of mastered all of that. She's got like a lot of inner knowledge, but she's also has like this inner acceptance again, with that Herbal Astrology card, she has an acceptance that what she's worth, right? She has an understanding of what she's worth. So I feel like in this aspect, these are the type of things that somebody is kind of being led to understand, that, we're not forgetting the bad things that happen. We're not forgetting and discounting all the things that kind of made us who we are, but we're allowing ourselves to accept what that means for us and how we got to where we are. And we're actually allowing the abundance to come in. And so my 7th card, which is kind of like our emotions, we have the the Page of Wand. So, another youthful, excited energy. But this is, we're so excited and passionate about, the spiritual aspect of things. I feel like, we have that deep inner fire, and that's why, we did get through the tower, and why we are standing our ground, and we know who we are, right? So that's why this gate is kind of opening up for us. This is why we're at this aspect where, you kind of have to accept things as they come, because you are strong enough and you're understanding the power that you have within you to be able to handle what comes. And it's kind of like also understanding that, okay, well, I've already been through that. So I got this, right? And it's also understanding that when we go through that, and a lot of that stuff is like being aware of, our words matter and our actions matter. Being a little bit wiser. Not to say that the bad things that happen to us are our own fault, but saying that, we understand how things work on this wheel. We understand how the garden works. We understand how this gateway, this portal, this wherever we're at right now, we understand how it works. And so in the 8th position as our what's our external influences are, we have the Queen of Swords. And I feel like this is saying that we have the ability to kind of be a little bit more organized, kind of take the initiative, as far as like, sometimes things happen because we're a little sloppy, and that's me. Or it's more like we kind of, get a little overly emotional, or we don't pay attention to the things that need to be done right ahead. I mean, she's kind of a boss. She's a boss lady because, she does things in a fair way, but she's also like no nonsense. She makes sure shit gets done, because if you don't, then it comes back on you later. And I feel like this is somebody is realizing that either you have somebody in your environment, or you're understanding how to kind of work with the external environment in a way that you can kind of like maybe take a couple steps ahead, or, be a little bit smarter about those aspects. So you're able to kind of control the outer influences on yourself. And so with our 9th card being our hopes or fears, this is the Page of Cups. And I feel like this is, we are hoping to have that feeling. I think we're gaining that back, that awe and wonder, and that feeling of connection and excitement about, the watery things, about whether it's a relationship or it's like a creative endeavor or something that you're working on. We're getting excited about it again. And I feel like it's because we're maturing in a way that we're kind of able to kind of tighten up the loose ends to where things are more stable, but at the same time we're understanding how it all works with letting things go and not being too stiff about things, not being overly analytical so you don't enjoy it anymore. And then at my my outcome, I have judgment. For me, when I have judgment in the 10th, this is like my grace card. This is kind of like divine intervention. This is you're at this certain peak in your life where it's almost like that deep sigh of relief. And I know what that feels like. But this is, having gone through so many things that you kind of have learned those lessons. And it's almost like you have this inner understanding and this innate knowledge that it's not going to be like that anymore, right? It's this inner knowing of what this whole thing is about, without defining it too tightly, without putting in a neat little box and trying to figure it out. It is knowing that this is just how it works, right? And in a natural way, and allowing that grace to be accepting the good things to come, because you know how to work with this wheel. And then I did pull 2 mystical shaman oracles. And the first one we have is number 24 with the heart of the sky. The heart of the sky is the love force that made all creation possible. The same force is present when you create with originality, when you bring formlessness to form or inspired ideas to expression. This prime evil force does not know good or bad. It is up to us to provide the clear intention that will guide it to manifest. The heart of the sky helps us call in beauty from the invisible world, the birth and in the world of matter. So yeah, I feel like that's definitely like, understanding the power of understanding the wheel, right? Understanding the whole thing. And that's where the grace comes in, is you understand that, like, if you kind of let go a little bit and you don't, you don't fight it so much, then good things can come, right? You can really trust that in the end, it's all for our best. And I just want to read the invitation too. It says, the heart of sky brings you a sacred reminder. You are a channel for original energy of creation. Become the paintbrush, the canvas, and the artist, all guided by the heart of sky. Set your intention ethically and clearly, and allow the universe to take care of the details. And it's beautiful. This kind of gives me a thought, because I'm always pondering things, but you know how they say that, the idea, the concept that, we choose to be here, and that, we create these situations so we can evolve. And, I always like to poke holes in everything, because I'm like, well, that doesn't sound fair, but that's just, my ego. But if you think about it, if you honestly think about the way that it is to be alive, like, how do you know that you're alive, and what makes it worth it, right, is all the ups and downs, the emotional thrills that gives you those really good feelings, and overcoming those bad things. And if really we have that ability to kind of create, right, through our energy and our intent, and how we kind of perceive things, because honestly, I 100% believe that everything is perception and intent, and how you focus your energy and your emotions. So yeah, I believe in manifestation. But if you think about that, if everybody innately has that ability, so we kind of need like a refining system, right? You kind of need a refining system to kind of be like, okay, well, who's going to get through this without being really shitty, right? So when you get that grace, it's almost kind of like whoever is in charge of your life, whether that be God, Spirit, Universe, Mother Earth, your higher self, whatnot, whatever is controlling all of this that we feel deeply inside, you get that grace, because it's like, okay, I know you're not going to be an asshole. Does that make sense? I don't know. But our next card is number 42 with Rainmaker. And I love this card. This is my favorite card of the deck. So I'm going to read the whole thing. And I'm sorry, I know this one's really long, but whatever. The Rainmaker is the master of manifestation. See? Ding, ding, ding. Who can call on the elements of nature to serve the greater good. When the power to co-create is used with integrity, great beauty and benefit flow to all. When this power is used for personal gain only, everyone suffers. When the earth is parched, the Rainmaker calls the waters from the heavens, and all that is dormant in the fields and in people's hearts springs to life again. The Rainmaker is calling you to create something anew from the elements that are already in your life. Be sure you work with what is, and not with what might be or what could have been. The seeds that have been silently germinating in your heart will burst forth and ready for the sunlight. Do not hold back. Put all your chips onto the next roll of the divine dice. And I have to say, I was going to pull a Moonology Oracle, because, we're having like these crazy energies this week with our new moon and also with the eclipse energy. And I don't know why I use it. I think because I get it a lot. Maybe it's a message to me or somebody who listens to me regularly. But it was South Node. It was don't let your past hold you back. So, I feel like, and I kind of have like my weird way of thinking, but I feel like this, you're at this beautiful point with that Wheel of Fortune, because you've done the things, and with all the children, like all the pages, because I feel like that's also saying, like, at our core, at our being the children of whatever, you know what I mean? We innately are these pure beings, and somebody is finding that again. It's kind of crazy. You come out innocent, go through all this crap, and then only to be like innocent again, and then get, back to that. And that really is the grace. That's the grace. That's the divine beauty and the garden, right, is getting back to that natural inner child who deserves it all. So hope this meant something to somebody, and thank you for staying with me this whole time, and I will talk to you later.